Let's talk about Leap of Faith. Now, okay. Well, I'm not gonna clap, but I have to slap my legs. I'm not gonna like clap my legs. So anyway, Leap of Faith was a 1992 movie starring Steve Martin as Jonas Nightingale, a revival leader who travels around America with his clan, tricking believers out of their hard-earned money. In 2006, legendary director Taylor Hackford of An Officer and a Gentleman fame announced his plans to make his Broadway debut, directing a stage musical version.
Are you guys ready for what's about to happen? Yeah! Mirrorball jackets. A 2008 workshop of the show featured Rollo Esparza and Elizabeth Stanley, as well as Kendra Castlebaum, Lilius White, Terrence Mann, and Brandon Victor Dixon. Rob Ashford choreographed, and the show was said to be aiming for a spring 2009 Broadway bow. This didn't materialize, and by 2010, Hackford was no longer involved with the project. And a pre-Broadway tryout at the Amundsen in LA featured Rob Ashford as both director and choreographer, as well as Brooke Shields playing opposite Esparza. On April 3rd of this year, Leap of Faith opened at the St. James Theater with Jessica Phillips as the leading lady, and Rollo Esparza still intact. Rollo Esparza still intact? Well, I'm glad he was.
Now, the direction was by Christopher Ashley and choreography by Sergio Trujillo. I really gotta pronounce names. Sorry, YouTube. It also starred Crystal Joy Brown, Kendra Castlebaum, who stuck around from previous workshops, Keisha Luz Evans, and Leslie Odom Jr. The music was by Ellen Menken, and lyrics were by Glenn Slater.
I remember I first got a little nervous about the footing of Leap of Faith when Brooke Shields gave an interview to Playbill about joining the Addams Family as Morticia, and she said, "I was so intent on originating a role for the longest time, but after the experience of doing Leap of Faith out of town, I'm acutely aware that it has to be perfect for me to go out on that limb." And of course she was talking about herself and the role, but I still was like, ooh, putting that in print is a little weird.
Yeah, but I think that's very big of her to say that.
It was great. It's a very candid interview. If you want to check out that Brooke Shields interview, I don't know why we're plugging it, but it's interesting.
The show found Jonas and his fellow revival makers stranded in a small port town, where their nemesis, the local mayor, Marla, tried to prevent them from taking advantage of her people, especially her handicapped son, by getting their hopes up with a revival. There was a huge amount of audience participation, with the pre-show involving the St. James being turned into an actual revival tent. And at the end, Jonas did make it rain. The story had elements of The Music Man and 110 in the Shade in it, and only with more gospel numbers and more Mirrorball jackets.
I think the cool thing about this is, like, we're very excited to feature a show that's so recent. How many people saw Leap of Faith? Put it here. I can't see your hands, but it looks like a lot. Yeah, it's like a crazy thing of, you know, all of these shows, we always think, you know, there's something to appreciate, whether it's like a fantastic score, a fantastic performance, a combination of things, and for whatever reason they didn't succeed or they're, you know, underappreciated today. But so many times during the series we're like, oh my god, I wish I had a time machine to go see Musical Chairs or The Gay Life, and it's like so cool to think that some of these shows that are underappreciated today, there are such special things about them that we get to actually see and be there for and, you know, tell people about 20 years from now. So I think that's kind of cool. After opening to negative reviews, Leap of Faith played to mostly empty houses for a week before receiving a Tony nomination, as we know, for Best Musical. In an odd twist, Leap of Faith didn't receive a single other nomination. This has only happened 4 other times in Broadway history. Does anybody know what other shows? Swing on a Star, hi Aaron! Swing on a Star in 1986, and the other 3 times are Pump Boys and Dinettes, Blues in the Night, and Leader of the Pack. Leap of Faith tried to stay open, hoping that their nomination and their performance on the Tony broadcast would help ticket sales, but after several bad weeks was forced to close after only 19 performances. One cast member from the show, who was also the Jonas Nightingale understudy, is here with us tonight. Welcome to the stage, the marvelous Hobson.
See if we can figure out that. Oh, that was not hard. It's pretty easy. How you guys doing? All right, so I guess I'm supposed to tell a story about Leap of Faith. Now, the thing about Leap of Faith is I came on board like a day before we started rehearsals, so I knew nothing about the show when I came on board. I had done Bonnie and Clyde, another wonderful flop, in the fall, but again I came on board like a few weeks before we started rehearsals.
So I wasn't involved in the out-of-town process, so I don't have a ton of stories about these two shows. But if you look at the program, you'll see that I was in 3 flops in 1 year. Now, I come from doing regional theater, so I'm very used to doing lots of shows in a particular season. So, like, for me, that just felt kind of normal. And coming from next to normal, which was, thank you, which was a nice long run, that was, like, kind of odd for me. So, this last year has been kind of up and down, but I would rather do a new musical than sit at home watching TV. That's just my... Yeah. Making musicals is very, very hard. And every one of the shows that I did this last season had wonderful, wonderful creative talent. To work with like Donna Murphy and Paul Giovanni and Louis Stadlin, who was in Minnie's Boys, and Frank Wildhorn and Jeremy Jordan, and you know, I could just go on and on and on. And it's a musical is never like written on a page in a room alone by some writer somewhere. It's a combination of talent and timing and this amazing crucible that happens when you're reversing a Broadway show. And Leap of Faith was so many wonderful people all trying to make this show work. And like they were saying, it's kind of, you have different directors and different actors kind of coming on board. I think Brian Darcy was also at one time, I don't know if he said that, I wasn't listening. Brian Darcy was on, had done Jonas Soliloquy at one point. So you shake it up and you have any combination of director and choreographer and actors, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it was sad to see Leap of Faith go, because I think it was a better show, and especially Bonnie and Clyde too, I felt like that was a better show than it got reviewed as. But you know, you move on and you do the next thing, and yeah, so I don't really have any specific story about Leap of Faith, except the one thing that I thought was hilarious is when they were doing the LA production, one of the miracles that Jonas did was that he made a cross burn. At one point during the show, a cross lit on fire, and you have all these like wonderful black gospel singers on stage, and I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? You burnt a cross on stage? That just seems absolutely like, but yeah, they were like, we couldn't believe it either. There was a cross on stage burning. And we're like, you know, so anyway, so the show had problems. Let's just say that. Let's just say that out loud. It had problems, but you know, sometimes things get fixed, sometimes they don't. Luckily, that did get fixed for Broadway. There was no burning crosses. So with that, okay, so I've never actually performed this number for anyone. So this will be the first. I ran through it once with our music director, and that's it. So I didn't ever go on for Raoul. He did almost lose his voice during previews, so I was like scrambling to learn this massive role. And I was very happy to work with him. He was a wonderful person to work with. Yeah, so I'm going to sing Soliloquy. And for those of you that didn't see it, Soliloquy happens right towards the end of the show. He disingenuously tries to perform a miracle by making this boy walk. Not thinking that he can do it, he accidentally performs a miracle, and the boy walks. And he's left sort of questioning whether or not there's God and whether or not he performed the miracle. He's confused. It's a soliloquy. He's trying to figure something out. See if I remember these lyrics. Some kind of scam, isn't it? It's all just too bad, isn't it? It's that kid that tend to night. Can't be you. You're not real, are you? And you know faith can't heal, don't you? But if good did come through me, don't you stand there, prove it to me. Come on, make me a deal, won't you? Wipe the slate, make me new, point the way to something true.